Can you imagine being told your family can't afford a simple birthday gathering, only to discover, moments later, they're throwing a massive, catered party for everyone else? That day, watching my kids sit there in their little holiday outfits, holding gifts they'd never get to give, something shattered inside me, and I knew I couldn't go back to being the silent victim. It all started 3 days before my dad's birthday. My mom called. Her voice sounded tired, almost rehearsed, when she said, "This year isn't a good time for a get-together. Things are tight. We're just keeping it small. Maybe next year." She sounded like the decision was already weighing on her, like I should just accept it and move on. And I always just said okay. I never pushed back. I didn't mention the cake I'd already ordered from his favorite bakery, or the handmade gifts my kids had poured their hearts into. I just said we'd celebrate some other time. That morning, I still dressed my kids in the outfits they'd picked out for Grandpa's party. We sang happy birthday in our kitchen, just us, and lined up the gifts: a new fishing rod, a photo book, socks with his favorite football team, and my daughter's card, which read, "Best Grandpa in the Galaxy." Then my phone buzzed. A Facebook notification. My brother was live. I didn't even have to open it. The thumbnail alone was enough. A huge balloon arch. A happy birthday, Dad banner. Laughter spilled from the speakers as I turned up the volume. It was a full-blown party. Catered food. Everyone dressed up. A giant roast pig. My mom right in the thick of it, handing out gifts. Karaoke was blasting, and there was my dad, blowing out candles with his cheeks puffed out like a little kid. Everyone was there. Everyone but us. I didn't say a word to the kids. I just took a photo of them, still sitting quietly in their party clothes, holding their wrapped gifts. Then I sent it to the family group chat. My message was short: "These won't be needed." 42 minutes later, my dad was on my front porch, pounding and yelling so loud the neighbors came out to stare. I had to step out in my slippers because he just wouldn't stop. He wasn't drunk, just furious. He called me ungrateful, said I could have come if I wanted, that my brother invited me last minute and I chose not to show. He actually said this wasn't about me and I needed to stop making it dramatic. He didn't ask to see the kids. He didn't apologize. He just stood there, shouting in my driveway, still wearing a party hat, crumbs on his shirt, holding a bottle of wine like that would somehow smooth everything over. I didn't say a single word. I just went back inside and shut the door. I thought that would be the end of it. I really did. I hoped someone, anyone, would feel a flicker of guilt after seeing my kids dressed up with gifts they'd never get to give. Maybe someone would call and say, "We're sorry. We messed up." But that's not how it went. Oh no. It got petty. Really petty. The very next morning, my brother posted a meme on Facebook. It was a cartoon of someone sulking in the corner of a party, with the caption, "When nobody notices your silent protest, so you post a sad selfie and pretend you're better off." I wouldn't have thought twice about it, except the comments were full of family members laughing, tagging each other, dropping popcorn emojis. "We know the type," one wrote. Another said, "Some people just love being left out so they can play victim." And then the real kicker. Someone uploaded a slow-mo video of my dad blowing out his candles, everyone singing, my mom laughing, my brother holding a glass of champagne, and the caption, "Real family knows how to show up." My stomach turned. I stayed at that screen longer than I care to admit, just feeling this cold knot in my gut. I didn't comment, didn't like, didn't share. I just closed the app and went back to unloading the dishwasher, pretending none of it existed. 2 days later, my mom called. Not to apologize, not to ask about the kids, just to say she hoped I'd cool off before Thanksgiving. She said things got a little hectic and sometimes people get oversensitive. Her tone was so light, like we were discussing the weather. She even tried to throw my brother under the bus, saying, "Well, your brother was the one planning it, not me." As if that somehow cleared her of the whole thing. I didn't argue. I just listened. When the call ended, I sat down and made a list. Not of what they owed me, I wasn't keeping score. It was more of a reminder, a stark inventory of everything I'd quietly handled over the years. Like the time I helped my brother cover 3 months of rent when he lost his job. How my parents were still on my family phone plan, which I paid in full every single month, without fail. The insurance I'd added to my dad's truck because he couldn't afford it. The automatic refills I'd set up for my mom's prescriptions. The groceries I had delivered when she said she didn't feel well. All of it. Little things I never brought up, never threw in their faces, because that's what family is supposed to do, right? Only now, I didn't feel righteous. I just felt utterly, completely done. The very next day, I logged into my mobile account and separated their lines from mine. I sent a polite message saying they'd need to set up their own plans before the end of the month. No explanation. No drama. Then I cancelled the autopay for my mom's medications. I figured she'd notice eventually, and she did. When she called a few days later, confused, I just said I wasn't sure what happened. Maybe she should check with her pharmacy. She didn't press. But the best part, the really satisfying part, came after I stopped sending money to my brother altogether. That same brother who once asked me to co-sign a loan for him, who never forgot to invite me when he needed something, but somehow always forgot when it came time to show up for me. Suddenly, they were quiet, but it wouldn't last. They had built a house out of my kindness, and they were about to feel what it's like when the walls disappear. They waited until the week before Thanksgiving to reach out again. My mom sent a group text, dinner at ours. 4 p.m. Bring dessert if you can. No apology. No mention of the birthday or the Facebook circus. Just a generic invitation, like nothing had ever happened. I didn't respond. Neither did my kids. 3 days later, my cousin Jessica messaged me privately, said she hoped I was okay and that everyone was worried about me. Worried about what exactly? I asked. She took a while to reply, then said, "Well, you've been quiet. People are saying you're isolating yourself." I didn't bother explaining. She hadn't checked in once during the birthday mess, and now suddenly she was part of the consign committee. I just left her on read. Thanksgiving came. We stayed home. I made a big tray of lasagna, and we watched old home videos, the kind where my dad used to lift my son onto his shoulders, and my mom was still trying to teach my daughter to knit. It hurt, yeah, it really did. But it also reminded me that we had given so much more than we ever got back. At 4:17 p.m., while my kids were setting the table, another Facebook Live notification popped up. My brother again. I didn't open it, but my son did. He said, "Grandpa's pretending to cry because we're not there." I told him to turn it off. Then came the messages. My mom first. The kids must be sad. Are you really doing this to them? Then my brother. You proved your point. Now grow up and show up like a normal person. Followed by a flood of others, chiming in with their own twisted takes. How I was robbing my kids of memories. How I was holding grudges. How my absence was starting to affect Grandpa's health. That one almost got me. Almost. Until I remembered that same man, standing on my porch, yelling at me like I was a stranger who had crashed his party. Not Nancy, the daughter who'd carried half the weight of this family on her back for years. So, I took a picture of our lasagna, just the 3 of us, forks in hand, plates full, smiling. I posted it with no caption. 30 minutes later, my brother replied with a puke emoji. I deleted him, blocked him, removed every single family member from my social media. I didn't send a single message, not even a warning. By that weekend, I had opened a new checking account in my name only. No more linked payments. No more shared subscriptions. Every little tie they had to my help? Snipped. They noticed, and they didn't like it one bit. For 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, it was quiet. No texts, no backhanded memes, no more fake concern from cousins I hadn't spoken to since high school. I honestly thought they'd finally gotten it, that I wasn't playing anymore. But that kind of peace doesn't last in my family. When they realize guilt doesn't work, they get creative. It started small. Netflix wouldn't load. Then Hulu said my subscription had been cancelled. Next, I got logged out of Spotify, the same one my mom and brother had been using on my account for years. At first, I thought maybe I'd been hacked. But after resetting everything, I saw the devices that had recently logged in, my mom's tablet, my brother's old laptop. They weren't just mad. They were trying to claw their way back into my life through the back doors. They thought I'd forgotten. Then the bank called. A fraud alert. Someone had tried to access a joint account I'd opened years ago when my mom was having trouble managing her online payments. It had barely been touched since, just sitting there in case she needed help again. I'd forgotten it even existed. They hadn't. I closed the account immediately, moved the small remaining balance to my private savings, and called the bank to report unauthorized access. That same day, my daughter got a message on Instagram. A new account, no profile picture, just one line. You're old enough to know the truth. Ask your mom why she cut off your family. She showed me the message and asked if it was from Grandma. I didn't answer right away, but I knew that phrasing, the guilt, the manipulation, all of it screamed my mom. It was almost identical to something she'd said to me when I was 16 and dared to question her about something she'd done to my aunt. But they weren't done. The worst came in mid-December. My son's school called just after lunch. The secretary said someone had come in with a brown paper bag, claiming my son had forgotten his lunch at home. They handed it off at the front desk. No questions asked, saying the woman was listed as an emergency contact. My mother. The thing is, I had packed his lunch that morning. It was still in his backpack when I got to the school. He hadn't needed anything. When I asked him later what she said, he told me she leaned down and whispered, "You can always come over if it gets boring at your mom's. I've got presents in the car." He's 8 years old, and he said, "No." Grandma felt weird. That night, I changed every emergency contact at their schools, removed my mom's number from their iPads. I took back the gifts she'd sent for them through neighbors and returned them without a note. Then I sent a message to the family group chat. I hadn't typed anything in there since the birthday. It said, "No more contact, no more games. My children are not pawns, and I'm not your backup plan. We done. Permanently." I left the chat and blocked every single number. Phone, email, social media, all of it gone, erased. Then I took it one step further. I met with my lawyer, updated my will, designated new guardians for my kids. I wrote a formal letter revoking all prior verbal agreements about shared finances and debts I had absorbed for family over the years. And I meant it. The old version of me, the one who said yes to every favor, who filled in for every missed responsibility, who kept forgiving because that's just family. She was gone, and the people who had built their comfort on her back were finally starting to panic. 6 days before Christmas, a letter showed up in my mailbox. No return address, just my name written in thick, uneven block letters, like a child had done it. But I recognized the handwriting instantly. My dad. 2 pages, front and back. He called everything a misunderstanding. Said family didn't need to agree on everything to stay close. That what I was doing was tearing people apart. That I'd turned my kids into witnesses to a grudge. He didn't say sorry once. Instead, he kept mentioning how much my mom missed the kids, how everyone was talking, how it looked bad. He even wrote, "You're better than this." At the end was a $50 bill folded between the pages, like I could be bribed back into forgetting. I shredded the entire thing without a second thought. The next day, I got a call from my daughter's dance studio. Her Nutcracker costume balance hadn't gone through, which was odd because I'd paid it in full weeks ago. When I called to sort it out, the receptionist told me someone had come in on my behalf, asked to be listed as a backup contact, changed the card on file to a different number, then removed it the next day. It didn't take long to figure out who. I told them that if anyone outside of me ever tried to manage my account again, they were to call the police. They apologized and flagged the account. That night, I checked every place where my name, address, our phone number had ever been attached to something they could access. I changed all the passwords, closed old accounts, scrubbed everything clean. But they were just getting warmed up. The voicemails started the day after. Most were from unknown numbers. Little yips, static. Then came the messages. My mom saying she missed our traditions, that she was praying for me. My dad stiffly saying that the door is still open if I decided to stop all this. My brother's voice, half smug, half begging, telling me he'd been evicted and had nowhere else to go, that he needed a place to crash just for a week. He actually said, "This is still your family, Nancy. You don't just quit." I didn't reply. Then came New Year's Eve. Every year since the kids were little, we'd gone to the winter carnival in town. Hot chocolate, fireworks, overpriced mini donuts. It was the one tradition they never missed, no matter what. This year, I hesitated, but the kids were so excited. I figured maybe we'd just go early, leave before the crowd. We barely made it past the ticket booth when I saw them. My parents standing near the food court like they just happened to be in the neighborhood. My brother sitting on a bench, holding a coffee. They weren't there for the carnival. They were waiting. My daughter grabbed my hand and whispered, "They're here." I told her to stay close. My mom started walking toward us, holding something wrapped in tissue paper. My dad stood behind her, arms crossed. My brother smiled like he'd caught me in something. I didn't say a word. I turned and walked out with the kids. I didn't even stop at our car. I ordered an Uber and waited on the sidewalk like it was any other night. My dad yelled something behind us. "You're doing this to the kids, not us." But I kept my eyes straight ahead. My son asked if we were going somewhere else. I said we were going home that night. I blocked 10 new numbers, installed a second security camera outside the house. My daughter asked if we were ever going to talk to them again. I said no, and she just nodded, like she already knew. Then came the moment I'd been expecting. My brother sent a voice note. He said the eviction was real, that he'd been staying in his car, that he needed help. He said, "You don't have to talk to anyone. Just help me like you used to. You always did before." I listened to the whole thing. Then I deleted it. Not out of anger. Not even revenge. Just clarity. I used to be the one they turned to when they needed a soft landing. The helper, the fixer, the quiet, responsible one, the one who never said no. Not anymore. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. After New Year's, everything went still. No more texts, no voicemails, no surprise appearances at school or rehearsals. Not a word from any of them. And I knew exactly why. They were waiting for me to break. They'd seen me carry their birthdays, their bills, their broken-down cars, their missed appointments, their missed rent for years. They didn't believe I could actually walk away, that I'd survived the silence they once used to punish me. But the truth was, I had never felt more whole. My kids were lighter. Our home was peaceful. And for the first time in over a decade, I wasn't waiting for some new drama to explode into our living room. 2 weeks into January, my mom finally tried one more time. She sent a letter. Not to me, to my daughter. A little envelope tucked into a neighbor's mailbox, asking her to pass it along. No postage, no return address. Inside was a card that said, "We miss you." It had a Polaroid of my daughter at a birthday party 2 years ago, wearing a tiara, with my mom behind her holding a cupcake. Written underneath, "Don't forget who your real family is." That night, I sat down with my kids and told them everything. Not just about the party they weren't invited to. Not just about the weird messages or the fake emergency lunches. I told them about the money I'd spent quietly over the years to keep everything stitched together. About the phone bills, the car insurance, the late-night rescues. About the time I covered the electric bill at Grandma's so they wouldn't lose heat in February. How nobody ever said thank you, but they always asked for more. My daughter looked at me and said, "You shouldn't have to do all that." And that was the moment I knew I'd done the right thing. February came, then March. Nothing. Then I heard through someone at church that my parents had canceled their Florida trip. Something about tight finances. Then someone else mentioned my brother had moved back in with them. No one said my name, but I could feel it in the air. They were struggling, and no one was jumping in to fix it. That used to be my cue. I didn't flinch. By April, the family group chat was shut down. A cousin tried to reach out, just to catch up. I ignored it. By June, they'd stopped asking about us altogether. And now it's August. My kids just started their school year. We have our own traditions now. We cook dinner together once a week. Friday nights are for game marathons and junk food. We write letters to each other and hide them around the house. And when my daughter had a birthday party last month, I looked around the room and realized not a single person there was from my blood family. But the room was full of laughter, full of music, full of real love. They thought I would come crawling back eventually, that I'd panic without them, that I'd feel empty. But what they never understood is this: they were the emptiness. I just didn't see it because I was always too busy filling it. So, tell me, what would you have done if your own family treated you like this? I'd really love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.